Heinsdorf with a couple guests at the 2011 Albacore Internationals on day 6 of sailing. Finally is done. The results are in. Soon we'll know who's going to be the new Albacore champion of 2011. Although in all honesty, did we really not guess by the way the results were going? Anyway, I'm here joined by Stephen Penfold on my right, Neville Herbert, and Darren Monster. Stephen and Neville were part of our group from the UK that came on in. They are actually fantastically well-known sailors in the UK. So we'll be chatting with them a little bit, but let's talk about the conditions today. All I can say is it went nuclear. If you take a look on iWindsurf for today, it was easily 20 plus with gusts going up to 30, and that was on an island that was sheltered. So we're looking at what, 3 to 5 knots more on that open fetch we had with the wind coming in from the east, and some pretty good sized waves too, right? What do you? Yeah.
Yeah, the waves were pretty big, and I would say probably 25 knots.
Yeah. Steady or gusts?
It seemed pretty steady.
Yeah.
What did you guys think? Steady?
I think everyone exaggerated how windy it was. Generally, you know when you're rigging the boat, the sails are flapping and everyone's, you know, the tension's building and just launching is an issue. But when you get on the water, it was probably more than 18 tops.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And a lot of people didn't actually leave the dock because they were worried how windy it was going to be. And you get that tension that builds. But when we got on the water, I felt that it was quite comfortable. The waves were bigger than the wind strength would sort of, you know, pretend.
Yeah, I mean, even the wind forecast, I've checked it, and it peaked out at 25 knots.
Well, I saw one that said gusts at 30, and another pretty steady at 20.
There was a bit of a line squall that went through when we were coming back in, and that was probably the strongest wind we saw all day. But like, I mean,
on the race course, about 18. I think.
Okay.
Yeah. But again, when people were rigging their boats, they were pinning the shrouds down as if they were going out on like a force 8. You know, we left our settings exactly as we had them yesterday. So we didn't make any adjustments at all. No.
And yesterday was a light day.
It was, yeah.
Very light.
We sailed with a mast very upright yesterday, but our shroud settings remained the same. All we did today was just to drop the rig tension back, take it up with the vang, and then just work the boat through the waves.
So you just dropped the rig back with easing the jib halyard.
Yeah, because you needed a lot of power to get through the waves today. So you needed a full main, and if you depowered too much, you wouldn't have the drive to get through the chop. And I think that's what a lot of people made a mistake of doing today.
How did we set up our boat? It was basically similar. We did pin down one pin, and it's the first time. Well, it was the first time we pinned down throughout the whole regatta.
So why did you pin down today?
Probably the waves intimidated us a little bit, and there were gusts coming through, and not to mention there was a storm that looked like it was coming towards us, and we weren't quite sure what kind of wind that would bring, and potentially 30 knots, and we wanted to be ready for that. So that's what we did. And of course, we dropped the rig tension off and took it up with the bang, like what you guys did as well.
And obviously making sure the mast stands up, so the mast, when the kicker comes on, the mast straight to the front of the gate, and just get the mast bending like that.
Yeah. So all of a sudden your mast goes.
Yeah, because it flattens off the front edge of the sail, flattens off the edge and builds up the beach and gives you a chance to get just more and more kick on.
Yeah. So you're Neville's crew.
Yeah.
So on a day like today, is there anything you do a little different to get ready?
Hike harder.
Yeah.
No, it's just hike harder, deep power through letting off the rig tension, and you got to work the boat for the waves. Which part of that is our job.
There's a lot more body movement, I think, through the water.
A bit more body movement.
You know, the biggest thing I found today was that we went through our normal routine, got down early, rigged the boat, and just launched straight away. There's a lot of the people who were just standing around, almost as if they were afraid to launch. We were on the water by maybe 9:30, 9:40, and so we were on the race course by 10 o'clock. And yet when we looked behind us, we were, what, 2 miles out? There's no one else there. So we had an extra half an hour of getting used to the conditions, put a couple of jives in, just got used to how it felt going upwind, And so when the race started, we'd already been sailing for almost an hour.
Yeah.
And that made a huge difference. I don't know if you saw today, the line sag was enormous because people had only just arrived on the start line when the 5-minute gun went. Whereas we'd already been up, down,
out there, you know.
Out there for a while.
Yeah.
And figured out, you know, whether we're shifting to the right or to the left, what the wave pattern was doing on each tack, things like that.
You don't want to be getting to the jibe mark in whether it was 18 or 25 knots, doing your first jibe of the day.
Yeah.
That's when you start to get a little bit nervy. Whereas if you've done 3 jibes before the start of the race, you know you can do it, so you just go and jibe and sail off. And, so it just gets you a bit more in tune with the wind. I don't like it because you spend all the time getting wet cold, but
Especially when you're at the front of the boat.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the biggest crimes that I saw today were people that were pinching to depower the boat. I think my opinion is one of the worst things that you can do in waves is try and head up into the wind to depower. You know, you should depower your sails, bear off, and get speed through the chop to keep moving.
As soon as you pinch up, you just lose your speed.
You lose your
momentum,
and you die. And the waves start pushing you backwards. And I mean, we literally there was a group of boats that were doing that above us, and we literally reached away from them upwind to get below them and get clean air. And once we had clean air, we just powered out in front of them and gained enough distance that we could tack and cross them. And it's just so slow in that kind of condition.
Darren's completely right. Short chop or big waves, pinching kills you. The only time it works is on flat, gusty waters. If you're sailing out there now, pinching is a useful technique.
Right.
As soon as you've got any sort of wave or chop coming along, you need to be powering out and working.
I thought a lot of people were overshooting today.
Yeah.
So they had to work a lot harder to keep the boat flat.
Did you guys push your jib trees back up?
No, we didn't need to because we didn't pin down. So our jib position stayed the same.
Okay.
But we were sailing, we had a very flat mainsail.
So alcohol all the way up.
Out all the way on, full on. We had a little bit of coming in just to take out the wrinkles there. We dropped the rig tension back by about maybe 1.5 inches, and that was enough to really load the vang on. And then we would sail with the boom just over the port quarter, just over the quarter.
How far above the transom?
So about so much.
Yeah, about a foot and a half.
About a foot and a half on. So the sail was right back, depowered, fully loaded up.
Yeah. No flagging.
No, nothing at all. It was just like a wing, if you will. And then we just had to work the boat.
Yeah.
And of course, it also, I mean, for us, you know, it made a huge difference that a lot of people were line shy today. A lot of people started on the wrong end of the start line today. So we started on the correct side, which is the pin end, as it happened. Sailed off, got the first knock, tack, across the fleet, and pretty much controlled the race.
Yeah.
The bit about having a main a little bit further out, you see a lot of people with their main in on the centre line, but their boats held like that.
Yeah.
So they're
sideways.
They're going slower because they're not flat, and they're going sideways to get knocked by the waves more as well. So you're losing on 2 counts, which if you use a flat boat as a fast boat, it's a
And of course-
cliche, but it's true.
And you, of course, you had your board all the way down.
Yeah.
Yeah, fully down and slightly forward.
So
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah,
Probably
give-
45.
We actually were sailing with ours slightly raked aft,
Yeah.
slightly,
I think
a
if
couple
it,
degrees.
I think if it got to what we thought was 25 knots, I would have started to put it up a fraction.
Now, when you guys are going upwind, do you have your hand on the bank or any of the controls, or is that all up to Neville? You're just hiking in response to each gust?
Well, I mean, upwind in days like today, I've just got a hike, basically, and there isn't much need to be controlling the kicker, vang, sorry, upwind.
And once it's all the way on, it pretty much stays there. Upwind. Yeah.
And through gusts, you guys are just easy.
Yeah. Well, what we haven't got cleats on the main sheets.
Yeah.
So because it's all the jib sheets actually. There's no cleats on the main because it's so easy to cleat the main, and then you end up just stuffing it. So without the cleat, you can ease it off.
Yeah.
And of course, because you've got so much vang on, you know the wing, the sails stays at the same height above the deck and just goes out and in. So we play the men a lot going upwind. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, we don't have the cleat on ice either, and we do the same thing.
I hate cleats. They like today. They're almost like
But if you need to crash tag, you'll capsize.
Yeah.
You know, no cleats on the boat.
And Barney agrees with you guys.
Yeah.
So, how did you guys do in the first race? You said you were off the line on the pen.
Yeah.
And you guys.
A lot of people were quite line shy.
Yeah.
So the line was slightly biased at the port end. So we sailed down the port end, had a great start, sailed maybe 200 yards, got the first knock, and we knew there was a knock out there because we'd been there half an hour before, tacked comfortably across the fleet, and then from there controlled the people we had to beat today. Got to the windward mark maybe 200 yards ahead, and from there we powered off, extended, probably doubled the lead downwind, came into the jibe, no problems because we'd already done 4 or 5 jibes, and then extended again across the finish lines.
So you were first.
We won today, excellent.
When you're going downwind, did you take the board up? Do anything different?
Yeah, because you've got big waves out there, it's very simple. It's very easy to have the board too high. So we had the board maybe halfway down today, downwind.
We had it, a bit further down in the woods. Days like, well, on any other day this week, just to stop that roll. But it was still half. Big quarters of the way up, quarters of the way up, quarters of the way down.
And you, of course, had your hand on it, or no?
No, because we got the up roll, down roll, so you can just put it quickly. Although I did pull the, I did put it up at one point.
And then just sideways really fast.
Which was a bit.
And we also measured how much the van we had off downwind. You can have too much on, and so you've got no power. You can have too much off. So if the gust hits, you're spinning wind, and that'll capsize you as well.
So how do you tell when you have too much on or too much off?
Just by looking up and having a nice even twist across the sail,
Yeah.
but a little bit more than we would have, obviously in the lighter breeze. So just have a little bit more on.
So a little bit more vang on.
A little bit more vang on.
Yeah. Maybe a couple inches.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly that.
The basic principle that Mike Mack told me about 15 years ago was that you should have enough kicker on that when you ease your sail out, the front of the sail lufts the front evenly all the way down. If it lufts at the top first, you've got too much kicker off. If it lufts at the bottom first, you've got too much kicker on.
Excellent.
That's like a really basic way, but usually you just get by looking at each.
And of course, since you guys were not pinned down, everyone else was, probably. Downwind, you just had some great well ahead of where everyone else did.
Yeah, we flew downwind, definitely.
Did you use that hole at all, or just leave it?
No, we left the outhole exactly where it is. We could have let it off slightly, but our outhole control is probably no more than 6 inches. We can't put a lot on or off. So in that sort of condition, it's more important to actually find where the giant mark is, because you can't see it. You just can't see the giant mark. So you head off where you think it is, but the last thing you want to do is keep your head in the boat, because waves are coming in at a different angle. So we left the outhole exactly where it was. Raised the board slightly, left the bang off, and just worked the waves, always pointing the bow of the boat downhill. Always pointed downhill. So you rise up, and then down, up again, downhill. That gave us the speed.
Excellent. So what would you guys say the single factors in winning today's race?
By far and away, the start is the most important thing. By far and away. And
flat boat upwind.
yeah.
I mean, you're always going to have a better chance of winning a race if you get to the mark first or in the top 3. If you have a poor start and poor first beat and you're around on 15th, you make life hard for yourself. So good start, good first beat, clean air, shifts first. Everything's much easier when you're up front.
What we found actually is that we did a really windy regatta a couple of years ago, and it was probably blowing 25 every day. And whoever got to the windward mark first won the race. And there was 15 races, and so effectively the race was over at the windward mark. And so you had to be on the front line at the start to get yourself into that position.
So and if
you didn't round first, then you came 3rd, 5th, 12th, wherever it was.
So very aggressive.
Yeah, I totally believe you have to be extremely aggressive on the start line. You have to have a plan. You need to know which is the biased end, why it's biased, what the tide's doing, whether there's any oscillating breeze or permanent wind bend, head to the corner you think is favourable, and stick to your game plan.
And how do you guys determine what would be the favourite angle line?
Well, how I do it, there's various compass techniques, but I simply go to the leeward end of the line on starboard. I then tack on the pin end, so I'm then on port, and I see whether anyone would be able to cross me if they were coming across on starboard. Yeah? And if they can cross me, then I know that basically it's going to be biased on the committee boat end. If no one's going to cross me, you know it's biased on the port end.
So you usually like visualize someone trying to come across on the opposite tack and see if they can cross.
You can just tell by the angle you're sailing off the line. If the line's straight like that and you're sailing an angle like that, you know it's port's biased.
Right, yeah.
If you're sailing like that, you know it's starboard. But the most simplistic way is to go head to wind on the line and see which end you're, where you're pointing to.
But it seemed like you guys started at the pin end.
Well, actually, a couple of times we started at the committee boat, actually.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I must have been at the pin end.
Well, see, it's not always necessarily the favoured end. It's the favoured side of the course, and so you could start on say the pin end, but it could be biased on the committee boat, but you want to go left.
Right.
And the reason that you go left is because you've already been upwind.
You want to get there first.
You've taken the mean wind directions, the mean compass directions, and you know that the wind is bending 5 degrees to the right or 10 degrees to whatever. So sometimes we started on the pin end solely because we wanted to get to the left hand side of the course.
Or currents, do you guys think about currents? Potentially going a certain direction through a current might actually, if you're getting hit by a current sideways, let's say, and you wanted to go left, would it make sense to start at the pin?
Depending on the angle of the current, you can obviously get a lee bow on one tack, so it can push you up. But we weren't overly familiar with the currents.
The current here was only important on the start, I thought, because it was pretty even across the course. There was no, unlike a tide where it could be considerably stronger in a certain area, but the current stayed going pretty consistently. The only concern was whether it would take you over the line. If you're racked up with 5 seconds to go, are you slowly being taken across? And so that was a consideration. On the first race of the week, there was a bit of current pushing you over the line, and we're at the committee boat end, and it almost pushed us onto the committee boat. So from that we had to factor that into our plan.
You can talk to Alan Meeser. He will tell you what happens when you push the committee boat.
Is that right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, did he hit it?
Big hole.
Alright, okay.
Well, I think he was attached to it for
some while as well.
Yeah. But so many people we see sailing, they just, set the gun, rock up to the start line, and they've got no plan, no idea of what direction they're going to sail in. They haven't been upwind beforehand, they haven't clocked the compass bearings, what it's doing, whether it's going left or right, and so they sail blind. If you have a plan, you've been upwind already, and you know that the wind is shifting to the left 3-4 degrees, and then 10 minutes later shifting to the right, so it's oscillating either side. You can dictate your play.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, Kim Tyne told me yesterday he did fantastically. We're in the same place, which was we're about mid-deep in the fleet, and then I decided to go left. He continued to go right. I couldn't figure out why, and then he said, literally, I clocked it, and the forecast said it, and it happened, and he just zoomed right up to the mark, finished in the top 10.
Yeah.
From about 30 plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big gains to be made, if you know what the wind is doing. Although admittedly, actually, in this week particularly, there were some 30-degree shifts out there which we didn't see. We found ourselves on the right-hand side once, and we're well above the fleet, and we were hit by 30 degrees, and the whole fleet tagged.
So what do you do at that point?
Well, what can you do? I mean, it came from nowhere, we didn't see it. We went from first or seconds to 30th in one tap. There's nothing we could do. We just had to recover. Well, because the wind had gone 30 degrees left, we then had to get to the left. If the wind is bending left, you go left. And so we slowly worked our way across, taking the right-hand shifts where we could. So every game, just get us back into it. Got to the top mark, and because the wind had gone left, downwind, you want to go downwind on the right. Yeah, and so we went down the right-hand side, again, the wind is shifting downwind just as much as it is upwind. You know, if you're sailing upwind, you get knocked, you tack. Yeah, if you get lifted, you stay on. Well, downwind, the wind's doing the same. But it's the driving angles rather than the tacking angles.
Yes.
So as the wind lifts, you jive, as it heads, you stay on. It's the opposite, obviously.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we slowly crawled our way back to 18 or something like that. You know, the wind was light.
Light wind is no good.
Well, light wind, you know, it puts more emphasis on the start, I think. I mean, I'm a strong believer that I think 90% is on the start. You know, and if you can practice and practice and practice.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that too, because I think that if you come off the start and you're in a good position, then you're able to cover the fleet much better from higher up in the fleet, right? If you can cross the fleet on port tack, let's say for example, then you can just play cover all the way up in the leg. If you see a bunch of guys going left, then you just start covering the left, right? And maybe loosely cover the right if there's guys coming out to the right. It's so much easier to cover when you have the lead or that. And if you can gain that right off the start, then you know, some big confidence boost.
I think what it does most importantly is what Darren says, that it gives you the opportunity to control your own race.
Yes.
If you come off the start line in the 30th, you've got very...
You've got people controlling you.
Exactly. So, as Darren's explaining, you can control your own race, you can stick with the game plan which Neville described, and everything's far more comfortable.
Not only that, but it's much fresher out there.
Yeah.
Wind smells great.
Much better.
You get
Not to mention, there's the important physiological aspect that you guys are feeling good at that.
Yeah.
You know you won the start. You bang the start. You did well. You're up in fresh breeze. You're hyped.
But I tell you, I mean, the sign of a really good sailor is somebody who can come back from a poor start for whatever reason, you know, round the top mark 30th, and then have the mindset to stay positive and keep going.
Yeah. I mean, Barney, I think, is a perfect example of that. I've seen him around mid-fleet, and he just pegs off one boat at a time, at a time, whereas other people will just be, well, I'm 30th, and that's all I'm going to get, and I'm discouraged, and I'm not even going to catch the guys in front of me because they suck. You know, but I think having a different mentality of saying, okay, fine, I'm here, I'm going to pick off one guy at a time.
And I think if you're a mid-fleet sailor, then just work on the boat immediately in front of you, just one at a time, and it'd be surprising how quickly you can get through the fleet.
So that's the little gem we've got from Neville Herbert. If you're a mid-fleet sailor, work on one boat at a time. Anyway, thanks so much, guys, for sharing your little secrets, and we look forward to the awards later tonight. All I can tell you is that I'm pretty sure these guys are within the top 5, and Darren Monster, if he isn't, next Worlds, check it out, because I'm pretty sure he will be. 7363 Canada, it's a boat to look at. You might have not seen the video that I did last year where I said he's the guy to watch. It got lost at some point in time, but we'll put it back up at some point. Anyway, Darren, Neville, and Heinsdorf, or Stephen, thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure.
And anyway, we look forward to seeing you all in 2013. And do you know what it is?
Aberystwyth, England, North Wales.
Yeah.
Be windy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah?
Yeah, I hope so.
You sound like you sailed there.
Yeah, a bunch of times. Yeah, it's great. Great sailing venue.
Yeah.
Great beach, nice yacht club, good venue, sailing on the Atlantic, big waves. Could be a great event.
Well, there you go. Neville Herbert himself. 2013 going to be a great time. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you later.